Welcome to our January 2024 episode of Silver Linings Talk Show. With us today is Kristi H. Sullivan. She is a human design self-care expert, speaker, and author. She hosts a virtual community for spiritually minded females to create better wellness, improve relationships, shift mindsets, and manifest more success, wealth, freedom, and to live their best life by design. I love that so much. I love that you also teach workshops, both nationally and internationally, and that you are featured on over 100 podcasts, and you've done dozens of events, I know, throughout the United States. You have contributed to 6 anthologies. I know you've been a certified yoga instructor for over 20 years, and you have become a soul professional after 2021, so you left your professional career. So I love that story. We're excited to delve into the human design specific, because I know this is a new topic for many, many people, and we're happy to bring it to the show.
Thanks for having me here.
Yes.
Yay, we're so excited. I'm so excited. I'm going to start with the first question because I'm so excited. I can't wait to hear all about it. First, could you tell us about human design? Where does the system come from?
That's usually where I start because not a lot of people have heard of human design, although it's a little bit more popular these days, I think, than before. But human design is really your energy blueprint based on your birth date. And it's a blend of a couple of different ancient philosophies. They stem from astrology, Kabbalah, I Ching, the chakra system. And those things together blend into this system that's only really been around as the system since the 80s. So we're hearing more about it now these days, though, than ever before.
So exciting. So it's still fairly new if it's only really since the 80s. I love that blend.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
And one thing that I was thinking about is some people really love to kind of hear about maybe where is some science that might be involved in human design. So I would love to know, how does a science also fit into human design?
And it's a good question because it sounds very woo, very like, where does this come from? But really, all of the systems that I mentioned that go into this, even take astrology, for example, we call it quantum physics. There's really a science to it, but we typically don't see it. It's like gravity. We know it's there, but it's not really something we can touch or feel. And what's happening with the birth time that you have is there's different things happening in the energy field, and because of that, it is a science that you really can't see that affects you when you're born.
That's so cool.
I love that how you explain that, because not many people would think about that. And that does match up with astrology too, but it seems more specific. So here we're sitting in January, and what should we be thinking about or doing in relation to this energy through this month and the coming month when it comes to human design?
Well, let me first go back just a bit and say that human design, is this blueprint of your specific energy. And think of a personality assessment. There's over 3 billion combinations.
Yes.
And, we all have this unique encoding that really helps us understand more of who we are. And in the new year, a lot of people want to set New Year's resolutions, intentions. One of the things I love to talk about is self-care and how knowing yourself and understanding more of who you are and things that you have that have maybe blocked yourself in and challenged yourself through the years. The New Year time is a great time to look at yourself and to really start to get to know more of who you are, and maybe to understand, why is it hard for me to keep New Year's resolutions and such?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you understand human design, it gives you a lot of information about who you are.
Right.
It gives you aspects about not just your energy, but bits about your natural personality, things that you do very naturally that are really specific to you. So when we think of like we learn a formula, let's say in school, that we all should be studying the same way, or when we get a job, we need to be doing a job the same way. We have certain expectations. It's kind of boxing us in. When we learn about human design, it's really more about understanding your uniqueness of this formula that you have specifically. And when you learn to do more of it the natural way for yourself, something like a New Year's resolution can be much more easy to understand what's best for you and how to really start to thrive in life.
Yeah. Now, I handed you that because I thought it'd be cool if you wanted to just like show that, just like what an imprint or blueprint might look like.
Yeah. So this is an example of what a design would look like based on the birth date. And you can find this information easily online. But it kind of looks really maybe complex.
Yes,
And like, how do you understand this? What are the symbols? What are the shapes? There's even numbers and symbols of the planets. When you start to investigate it, look into, what does this mean? It can be really insightful and life-changing. When you talk to somebody about it like me, I can help you understand what it is so that it gets a little easier and not too overwhelming.
Yes. And we're going to talk a little bit later about what we learned, little tidbits about our human design that we actually did with Kristi. So that'll be
sure.
fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, Kristi, are there different types of human design?
Yeah, that's a great place to go to next because there are, and we understand, let's say, astrology where you have an astrology sign. I'm a Libra. Not all Libras look alike, and again, everyone is unique. So when we look at your human design, what we do is we start with what's called the energy type, and there are 5 categories.
And you sent us a photo so we can kind of look at that of types and even percentages.
Yeah, and I can go through those because looking at this graph that you see, you can see the 5 types. What I want to start out by saying is the majority of people are a generator or manifesting generator. Together they make up 70% of the population. And there are a little bit of differences between the two, but generally what makes these two very common is that and I'm a generator, I know you are, Dina, and I believe Diane is, we like to be busy, we like having things to do, we are productive, we like projects and tasks, give us something to do and we like to check it off our list. And we have the energy to do that through the day. It's very much part of our makeup. What's important for like a generator type is that we do the right kind of work. Because if we're not, it'll drain our energy. But if we're doing the right kind of work, it actually gives us more energy. It helps us feel really, again, productive. And you hear that phrase like, oh, I love my work, I don't even feel like it's work. That's when you know a generator or manifesting generator is really doing what they love.
Yes.
Manifesting generators are a little bit faster. They like to move quicker and maybe juggle multiple projects or do a number of things at once. And they're good at finding shortcuts. And generators and manifesting generators, again, are builders of the world. Then we have these other 3 types that are a little bit different and less common. I'll talk about the projectors because they're 20% of the population. And projectors really are here to guide and give others wisdom and insight. And the energy that they have purposely needs to be invited and in order for them to share with the right people. Sometimes they may give their advice and 2 cents to people and they'll get a look like, why are you sharing that with me? They see the bigger picture and that's really important, and that energy that they have when they're invited and recognized for that wisdom and insight can give them this role of really being helpful to people like, for example, the generators who might need some tweaks in what we're doing. Then we have the manifestor type. I can go there next. That's 9% of the population. The beautiful Lynn is part of that group. And manifestors are really unique. They have a certain energy where they are here to really be creative and innovative. When they want something to happen, they will get this like feeling of like, now I need to get this done. I need to do it right away. And it's not about whether finding the right work. It's just something that, like an idea that they've got, and they've got to just move forward. The last type is 1% called the reflector. It's pretty rare, and reflectors, I just know one, a little baby who was born a reflector, and they need a lot of space, and they're here to really reflect and share sort of what's happening. Let's say they walk into a room, they can really sense what's going on. And I give an analogy that like all of these types really work very great together collaboratively. We need the innovators, we need the builders, we need those to like look at the big picture, and we need those to really give us like the feedback. And so really, even if you find out you're one type and you're like, oh, I want to be another type. Everyone has a beautiful gift, and when we come together, that's when you can really see like the energies all really complementing each other.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I know just to input on that, just learning about my energy type, it was just helpful to confirm how I use my energy, and it really helped me reflect back to maybe when I wasn't doing certain things a certain way, how it didn't feel right. It really is that simple.
Yeah.
And to that point, I think that's what I've seen with human design. I called it like a personality assessment, but it's much deeper than that, because what I hear a lot of times people saying, wow, I didn't know that I can be more of that. Like, for example, the generator types are really pretty busy. We have this sustainable energy to be going through the day like an Energizer bunny. The other three types really need a lot more downtime. I give a car analogy, like they need to be plugged in throughout the day, like a Tesla or your cell phone. They just need some recharging. And especially that when I mentioned, say, a manifestor or projector, like take your downtime. Maybe working 9 to 5 or even more than 40 hours a week can be really draining and feel that way. It's like a sense of relief comes over people. They feel validated, and they feel like they get permission to not work, but to do it in a way that's more natural for them, and that productivity is better because they're not drained.
Yes, so much sense.
Absolutely. And in what ways does knowing your human design help you in your life?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It can help your health and wellness, because again, if you are overworking, doing things at a very pace that's trying to keep up with the generator types that are usually the ones that are predominantly in the room, then it will burn you out. And what we're finding is as we know in our news and just day-to-day hearing from people, that there's a lot of burnout that's happening. And I think what's going on for our energy is that we're overdoing things. We're not finding that time to get downtime. If you're, say, a manifestor or projector, even the generator types, we might be overly busy. And so one way can really be impactful is knowing your human design can help you understand why you might need to slow down a bit. The health will be impacted, your wellness. Obviously, your relationships can be also benefited.
Can you share a little bit more about the relationship in reference to how they can play off of each other in a positive or negative way?
Well, one of the things that I learned when I discovered human design, and this was about 7 years ago, but really the last 3 years has been when I've really taken this and done more study and learning about it. I found out that, this is who I am, and how do I honor myself more as this unique blueprint. And then I recognized that maybe people in my family or my husband are not the same, and to honor that they're also uniquely built. It can help a relationship also in communication. It can help parents with parenting their children. I often hear parents say, oh my gosh, I wish I knew this. So when my child was growing up, you know, they came home from school and suddenly they just felt exhausted. It's probably because they weren't a generator. They might have been a manifestor like you, Lynn.
Yes, I've had a lot of recalls and little aha moments about those types of things.
Yeah.
And having a manifesting generator husband and being a manifestor myself and knowing that his energy can play off differently to mine. So separating ourselves sometimes in the evening and having separate down times can really help. I learned that from you.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So, Kristi, what would be like 3 things that people often want to know about their human design?
Well, one of the first actually funny questions I get is sometimes people want to know, like, well, who would be a good match in a relationship? And they want to know that, but that's not really something human design can tell, because the beautiful part of the system is that there's no perfect match out there. It's really about honoring, again, the differences and similarities that you might have and how to work with that, not look for who's the right one. So that's one of the things. Another thing I mentioned is like whether it's parenting, or if you're working with a team of people, or if you have a business partner, or need to hire somebody, sometimes it can be really helpful to know each other's human design and how you can complement, again, each other. And I did this recently for a team that I work with, and it was really fascinating because we now honor more of our gifts and strengths more than before. Another thing that people will ask me about is sort of just what's the purpose that they have, or maybe what kind of job should they have. And again, human design can give you some great information about what your energy is like and how it shows up. It's not going to tell you exactly what kind of job to get, but it will tell you maybe what your sort of soul purpose is here. And part of that is the encoding in your design that you have.
Right. Yeah, because it really does go much further into depth than just, you know, what you've discussed so far.
Yeah.
Yes. So where does someone begin? You, when we had talked earlier, you had talked about flow, and would love to hear more about what flow is and how someone can begin to even learn about how to use their human design imprint.
Yeah, and that flow is an acronym that I kind of came up with because I again have this mantra of stop overworking, start overflowing. And so flow, I thought, was a good way to kind of help somebody who's new to human design know what steps to take. The F stands for find your type, strategy, and authority, and find your design. So whether it's online or talking to somebody, and understand 3 key elements, which I mentioned already, the energy type. And then as you dive deeper, there's a lot more elements, but the other 2 that are really important are your strategy, it's called, and it's like how the energy best operates, and then your authority, which is a way of making decisions.
Okay.
And that's the F. The L stands for love yourself and love your self-care. Because as you understand more of who you are, you want to honor that. And part of that journey, I think, is making sure you're doing things that are nurturing to you, that help your overall well-being. So if you think, well, it's the new year, I should run a 5K, let me force myself to do it, that may not be the right self-care for you. But if you're really honoring, like, wow, I really need to go take a walk today, or I really need to perhaps work with an energy practitioner to help clear some of my old trauma and heal, like that's also self-care. So that's love yourself. The O is overcome conditioning. And what we mean by this in human design is that there's a lot of things we're programmed to do when we learn from our family, from ancestral lineage, or even from school or media, we should be doing things this way.
Absolutely.
And we've been programmed from the very early age of doing things a certain way.
Yes.
So understanding what really was passed down as a belief that you took on that might not really be working for you. So that's overcoming and sometimes working with a practitioner to do that.
Yeah, and one
can be
example
helpful.
that I just thought of is like that person who, that individual now as a young adult, has been told their whole life, you need to be a teacher or you need to be a doctor, because maybe that's what everyone in the family does.
Yes.
And then they feel a lot of stress and a lot of pressure, and they feel like that is not me. And then they go into a completely different career. You know, I've had clients with this, and so it just like came to my mind of how that could be some of that conditioning, even to like what you're going to do as your career when you get older.
Yeah.
And someone feeling like that is not me, like it doesn't fit.
Yeah, and related to that, I know somebody, for example, that really loves to get the certifications, because I think everyone in her family is a doctor, but
Okay.
she's not. But she might feel like I need to prove myself, right? And
Okay,
prove
yeah.
that worth and value. So again, conditioning is like the places in our life where maybe we need to reprogram some of the things that we think about ourselves. And then the W, the last letter, two words come to mind. One is working in your design, meaning like now that you have this information, how do you use it every day?
Right.
How do you, on a day-to-day basis, use it in building a lifestyle and making decisions? But the W is also really important, especially when we talk about burnout, because waiting is another W.
Yes.
And almost every type, part of the strategy for that type is slowing down a bit. The manifestors, the projectors, reflectors I mentioned don't have consistent energy. So for them, getting some rest and downtime is really important. The generator types, though, can be really busy and are going to miss maybe the opportunities for them to do the right kind of work or take on the right projects. They might say yes to too many things. So I think waiting can sometimes also help in that.
That was so big for me when I learned about the
Me
manifestor,
too.
because I learned that I have this splenic sense, so I'm supposed to listen to that gut instinct, which is momentary, and then it goes away. But I'm also supposed to inform, and that's something that I didn't do when I was younger. I would just go do it, and then people would get angry with me, going, "Where'd you go? How come you didn't tell us?" And I was like, aha, wait a minute, I was getting pulled to that, you know, go do, you know, like the manifestor energy, but I was forgetting about the authority and the informing part, right?
Yeah.
So I've learned that, plug into that and don't forget about that, because you were really tuned into who you were, but you weren't totally getting it.
Yeah, and it's sort of the idea, again, every energy and aspect of your design, there's some great things to learn and ways to help optimize how that energy is expressed. And as you were explaining, Lynn, that the splenic is really your intuition. It's really about listening to this inner guidance and not saying yes too quickly. Yep. And then also for the manifestors, informing is really important, because when they initiate and start to innovate, you know, they can move forward pretty quickly. And there's a lot to human design, so we're not covering it, unfortunately, all in this session, but online you can find a lot of information. But it's really like peeling back an onion one layer at a time to understand each of the pieces and how to best use your design.
Yeah. And a couple things that I had learned that were really like aha moments that really made sense. One was that I needed to be that person to sit back and wait. And I am exactly what you described as the person who gets like emotionally excited and will go, yes. And then maybe later down the line feel like, oh, this just doesn't feel right. Yeah. And then another thing that I learned, which was so true, is when I am asked to do something, it feels different to me.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm more like excited about it. There's a different energy, and that's something that I learned from you with my type is almost the desire or the benefit of being asked. So that made so much sense too.
Yeah, and that speaks to sort of the energy has a different way of operating in different types. So the generator types, we like to respond to things. If we're trying to force something to happen, it'll feel like something's not working, and we'll want to like keep at it, thinking we just have to push harder.
Yes.
But it just doesn't always work that way.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Well, I know we're coming to the end of our episode. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your book.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So the book, Stop Overworking and Start Overflowing, I produced in 2021, and it's like chicken soup for the soul. You can open any chapter. There's 25 authors. Each of us wrote a chapter about how we found human design and some tips and information about it. So it's a nice, like, really good story form book. And yeah, and I thought, you know, stories are the best way to help people understand, like, what is this tool, and, you know, what the heck do I do with it?
Right, right. No, absolutely.
Awesome. And how can somebody reach out to you if they want to learn more about human design?
Thank you, Diane, for asking. I have a website, KristiHSullivan.com, and I have a Facebook community that is pretty active called Kristi's Human Design and Self-Care Community. And I'm on social media, other platforms, and yeah, they can just reach out. So I am happy to have a conversation. I have a lot of podcasts also they can listen to, interviews, and just learn it from somebody if it's not me.
Yeah, it's really been a helpful tool for me. I know I've been involved in Kristi's community, and it really spoke to me for a number of reasons, just getting to know myself and where I wanted to be, and many of us are shifting into new realms and, you know, deciding to start something new, so I think that's a great place to start.
And thank you for being with us today to really help introduce this to people who want to use it in the new year. So thank you.
Thank you.